Hello knitters and welcome to episode 207. My name is Cori Eichelberger and I'm a knitwear designer and I love color. So we're all about color here and I have a new pattern being released this week. I am so excited about it. So introducing the fully trellised vest. This is a collaboration with Farmer's Daughter Fibers. I used their Bear Path DK, which is the most amazing DK weight I have probably ever worked with. It is absolutely glorious. And if you know me, that's my word. The Bear Paw DK is 60% merino, 20% yak, and 20% silk. And you have never felt anything this lovely. You know, I knit with a lot of cotton and linen and it is fine. I love wearing it, but the hand of this while you're knitting. And this trellis cable chart looks so complicated and it's not. My testers said they had so much fun knitting this. Every cable cross is 1 by 1. And you can read it after your first 4 to 6 rows of knitting. You're going to know what you're doing because you can see it coming. You know that you have to cross the next one this way and the next one this way. You can just look at your knitting and see it. So there really is no cable needle necessary. It does not have the cables on the back for my 2 samples because I didn't want to overwhelm knitters with the complication of the pattern. But I had several knitters who chose to put the trellis on the back as well. I'll have a picture here of how the back just has the 2 spiral cables. They are also only a 1 by 1 cable cross. You either do 2 or 3 every other row. It is just a joy to knit this. It is worked bottom up. You can have the ribbing be as long or as deep as you would like it. And then when you get to the underarms, you break and you work back and forth. And because this trellis is only 1 by 1, it's really easy to work on the back side. And you just have the spiral cables on the front and the back, or on the back. And the spiral cables that are on the back side are only worked on the right side row. So you don't even have to cable cross on the back, on the, on the opposite row. So I really tried to make this really striking as far as how complicated it looked, but easy to knit, if that makes sense. I want an advanced beginner to be able to make this. I also had 2 men who test knit this for me. So there is a wider shoulder option so that you just get a little bit more of a shoulder width at the top or a narrow shoulder width. That doesn't mean that you have narrow shoulders. It's just demarking how wide a shoulder you want. So you can just look at the schematic and see if you want it to hit just a little bit in off your shoulder or a little bit out on the outer side of your shoulder. Anyway, I'm so excited for this to come out. I had the most amazing test knitters. They found every little thing because I wrote this for 11 sizes. That's a lot of numbers in a pattern. And it is also available as cropped and full length, so you can make it shorter and wear it with dresses or high-waisted pants and not have your little shirt tail tucking out underneath. I found 2 great shirts to go under this. So I'm going to tip this one forward for you. Look at how fun that shirt is. But there's that trellis up front, right up close. I will say that it probably won't show up as well in like really dark colors like navy and black and charcoal gray, but in this purple that has some lightness to it, it really still shows up very well. I'll show you the trellis here up close on the purple one. So super fun to knit. It is coming out at Flock Fiber Festival on Saturday, but the pattern will be released on Ravelry before I leave on Thursday. I'm hoping to have it up by the time this podcast goes live. We had pictures taken last weekend and I sent those over to my person who lays out my patterns. If you don't know, I write a checklist pattern, which means every line that you have to do has a checkbox in front of it, so you never have to have an extra sheet of paper or a Post-it note. And so those check boxes are in, and then you just check them off as you go so you know exactly where you are at in the pattern. So I'm hoping that it goes up by Tuesday or Wednesday on Ravelry, and then my newsletter can go out and I can head out to flock early on Thursday morning. I am going with 3 friends, Matt and Mary and Bonnie, who all knit the vest as well. So we will be wearing them proudly walking around at the Fiber Festival. We do hope to go over to Bainbridge Island to go to both of the yarn stores there and to hit several of the other yarn stores in the area. We want to go to Pike's Place, which I've been to before, but there is a yarn store just half a block up the hill from that. So yeah, we're gonna see some sights while we're out there. We leave on Thursday, we don't come back till Tuesday. So feeling pretty lucky that I get to have this big trip with friends and also have this design coming out. So yeah, I just couldn't be more excited about this one. It's really fun to wear. The drape of the yarn is incredible, which meant that I knit the sweater vest at a slightly tighter gauge than you would normally think of knitting it in a DK weight because of that drape factor. I just didn't want it to be too drapey and loosey-goosey. And so you certainly could knit it on a slightly bigger needle and if you're using a different yarn, because a more woolly wool wouldn't drape and wouldn't be quite as silky and smooth as this one was. And so then you could just change what size you were knitting if you wanted to up your gauge a little bit, right? And which would make it probably knit up a little faster. But if any of you are podcast watchers that watch Ray from the Needles at the Ready podcast, you will know that he misread the gauge and knit his first bottom piece just way too big. And I felt so bad about that. But he got it back on track and he's loving it. When he started over, he decided to put the trellis on the back as well. Yeah, because he just really enjoyed doing this trellis chart. It is a lot of fun. It's not super wide, and so it's not a big, complicated overall cabled sweater, but anyway, and I'm hoping that you will all go over and purchase this pattern from me. You know, summer is the slowest time, and I did put out a newsletter at the beginning of July that just said, hey, go buy a pattern. And it doesn't even have to be from me. Go buy a pattern from any designer who is not in the top 10 because summer pattern sales are always really slow. And teaching too. My teaching is just really slow in the summer and then tends to pick up in the fall. But so it's hard to put a pattern out at the first week in August that really is meant to be a transitional piece for into fall or winter into spring, right? So go over and check out the testers photos because they'll have some beautiful colors and some different yarns that they used. Several of them did use the yarn from Farmer's Daughter, but there are some people who opted for yarn from their stash. What am I wearing today? I'm wearing my Ranunculus sweater using Lang Yarns Pride held double. This is a cotton linen with some silk in it, I believe, and I did hold it double and completely changed the gauge. So I just got off teaching a class on the Ranunculus sweater knit at this different gauge. So we had to do lots of math. So hello to any of you that took that class. I had 12 knitters at the Rose Yarn Store, and we adjusted the gauge for whatever anybody wanted to knit with. So you can knit that sweater at any gauge. You can cast on with lace weight to worsted and use a size 10 needle, but that makes a very ethereal, off the shoulder kind of poncho look, which is not the style for a lot of women. And it is a part of the type of fashion style that she designed that in was called the Mori Girl or Mori Kai, which means forest style. So it's kind of that fairy woodland look that they were really popularizing at the time. Now that pattern has been out for a long time, and people are still knitting it, but it was really part of a style that came out of Japan. And so I knit mine at a much tighter gauge. And so the fabric is different. And then the interesting thing about this sweater is that everybody casts on the same number of stitches for the neckline and knits the yoke in the same number of stitches. And then nothing changes until after the yoke, where you start your raglan increases to get to the size bust that you want. So it's a really interesting technique. And she does have two really loose cast-ons that provide enough ease for you to get your head through, even if you do it at this tighter gauge. So it's an interesting class to teach because everybody had to do a lot of math and there was some grumbling. But once we got through it, I did provide a worksheet for everybody to kind of figure out where we were headed and how many stitches you need to increase, and if you need to do them every other row or every row, and what sleeve circumference and body circumference you need to get to. And then it's not too hard, but if you've never done it before, as a designer, I do it all the time for every size. But if you've never done it before, it can be a little challenging to wrap your head around. So yeah, that was really a fun class to teach. And so yeah, I put that on today because the samples were at the shop. And so I haven't had them for a while, probably over a month. So now I'm going to be wearing my Ranunculus for a little bit. And these have been worn. I knit mine, I think 4 and 5 years ago, 4 years ago at least. And so they have been worn and worn and washed and worn many times. I knit 2 out of one type of yarn and then 2 out of this Lang Yarns Pride. And I have some more of this Lang Yarns Pride. I just want to change the yoke. I want to kind of knit the same silhouette, but change the yoke to something else, something that I'll just input in there. Okay, what else have I been knitting on? I had to rip back my color story. I don't know if you'll remember, but I will put the yoke picture that I took when we were up at the cabin here. And I had taken it off the needles, laid it out, put it on, tried on cording, and it looked fine. But I divided for the sleeves and I started knitting, and I'm like, this is a lot of stitches. Of course, I went back and I read the chart incorrectly, and so I had knit one, make one, knit one, make one, instead of knit one, make one, knit one, knit one, knit one, make one, knit one, make one, alternating colors. So I had doubled the amount of stitches that I needed on the needles. Thank goodness I didn't knit too far. I knit a few rows at knitting one day, and then that's when I realized it was taking me forever to get around the circumference. And I went back and counted stitches, and I was like, oh, you read that. So I had to rip back quite a bit, redo that row, and now I'm back down where I should be again. So that was kind of a bummer, and I did set it aside. You know, I've heard of knitters putting their knitting in time out a little bit, and that's what I did, because you get a little frustrated with it. Instead of frustrated at yourself, you're mad at the project. But so anyway, and then in the class I was teaching on the Ranunculus, I had cast on a Ranunculus. So I had knit the yoke for the first class, and then we had 2 weeks in between so that they could all do their gauge swatches and make their own personal schematic and do the yoke. And so then in that 2 weeks, I wanted to knit and divide for the sleeves on mine and get a little further down. So I had that knitting to do in the last 2 weeks. But I also am test knitting a couple of other patterns. So there's a lot of email time going on when you've got test knitters working for you, doing the hard work of checking your pattern. Last time I put my YouTube favorites and my YouTube knitting favorites down below, and those are there again. It's just easier than telling you what I'm watching, because I watch a lot of the same ones again and again. So if you're looking for something new to watch on YouTube, you might want to check out some of those. I'm just going to put those down there. I have just still been watching the Tour de France, so that is hours a day, and I am behind. I'm still on day 18, I think. And I skipped a couple days. I skipped the time trial day, the team time trial. It's boring. I don't love that. So I'm still trying to get that finished up here. I did on Monday night watch one of the best author talks I've watched in a long time. Here in Minneapolis, it is Hennepin County, and Hennepin County Library presents the talk of the stacks throughout the year, and they bring in an author to speak, and you can go in person or you can do it on Zoom, and all you have to do is sign up. It's free. I think I've talked about a couple of the authors before, but this time the author was Ocean Vuong, and I had previously read one of his books, but not his new book. This was the most phenomenal author interview I have watched in a long time. So turn me off. The link is down below. Go over and watch the Ocean Vuong Talk of the Stacks through the Hennepin County Library. This gentleman grew up as an immigrant on the East Coast, working in nail salons and things like that with his family. And then he went to community college, and then he went to college, and then he got his master's, and then he is now a professor at Harvard. Teaching creative writing and writing. He's so thoughtful and so smart, and some of the things he says are just eye-opening. And as a teacher, he was talking about being a teacher and the presence of the classroom, and how hard it is to be a teacher in the classroom, and that a classroom should always be hopeful. And it is so good. I just can't recommend it enough. I think it lasted between 45 minutes and an hour. He talks. They do a thing at the beginning, you can fast forward, where they just introduce, welcome people, and talk about the Friends of the Library. And so you can kind of fast forward through that, because they do the same one every time. The lady and a man talk. But then he speaks, and then they take questions from the audience. So it is so good. If you haven't read any of his books, I would recommend. So his first book was called On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous, and his newest book is called The Emperor of Gladness. And people in the audience had read the second book, and he asked them about it. And that is more of just a narrative story. So I'll just read you a brief description on the one I read. On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous is a letter from a son to a mother who cannot read. Written when the speaker, Little Dog, is in his late 20s, the letter unearths a family's history that began before he was born. A history whose epicenter is rooted in Vietnam and serves as a doorway into parts of his life his mother has never known. All of it leading to an unforgettable revelation. And so that is his first book, based in his family life and being from Vietnam. So his second book, I'll just briefly tell you what it's about. He does tell you at the beginning of the talk, but one late summer evening in the post-industrial town of East Gladness, Connecticut, 19-year-old High stands on the edge of a bridge in pelting rain, ready to jump, when he hears someone shout across the river. The voice belongs to Grozina, an elderly widow succumbing to dementia, who convinces him to take another path. Bereft and out of options, he quickly becomes her caretaker. Over the course of the year, the unlikely pair develops a life-altering bond. So he does talk about this story and how it started. His thought process around his writing is just incredible. So I won't say much more. And you can go back and watch any other of the author talk of the stacks for free on YouTube, and they're really quite good. So if that's something that you're looking forward to listening to, then let me know in the comments if you've ever gone to a really good author talk. I love a good author talk, and I've gone to a lot in person over the years. Where I'm fortunate because in the Twin Cities we have a lot of bookstores, and I live in a big city metropolitan area, so if you just look, you can find book talks to go to. Don't forget, I am having a Nome Schoolhouse Retreat October 7th through 9th in Nome, North Dakota, and I would love to have a group of you come. So get in touch with a friend and decide to go to Nome with me. We're going to have a great time. The schoolhouse is amazing. So not only are we going to knit and have a couple classes and go to a yarn store and eat together, but we really are going to experience a historical schoolhouse that has been completely refurbished. But when you walk in and you go up the main staircase and you creak on those stairs that children walked for many, many, many years, it's just really fun. There is a full yarn mill in the basement with a felting company as well. And there is a yarn store in the building. There's not a lot in Nome, North Dakota, but we're gonna just have a great time. So you can go over to the Nome Schoolhouse, and I will have the link down below for the registration. It's also my Instagram. You can go to the link there as well. And that the other one that is open for registration is the Twice Sheared Sheep Summer Camp, which is happening in June of 2027. But registration is open already, and that is in Salt Lake City. And Laura Nelkin and I and 2 other teachers are teaching. And so if you are interested in that, the registration is open, and you can go over to Twice Sheared Sheep to sign up for that as well. I will be at DFW Fiberfest. So at the end of August here, I will be teaching 5 classes in Dallas, and I went last year and it was amazing, had the best time. And 2 of my friends are also teaching. So Stephanie Lotvin of Telly B Knits and Shayna Lines of Shayna Lines Designs, who's been on the podcast. They've both been on the podcast. They will both be there teaching as well. I do know that several of my classes, I think 3 of 5 have sold out. But if you're interested in taking a class with me, there is still some availability. You could also go over and look at Shayna and Stephanie's classes as well. They have lots of teachers, and the vendor market is phenomenal, absolutely incredible. So if you're in the Texas area or can drive, because airline flights are so expensive right now, can we ever get back to cheaper gas? I don't know. I also went to a new knitting group to me. It was a crafting group that I was invited to by a friend that I met at Sweater Camp, and she invited me to come over. So hello to any of them that are watching. It was at Hackamore Brewing in Chanhassen, and I went on Wednesday night and met a group of 10 women. Someone was cross-stitching, 2 people were crocheting, 3 or 4 of us were knitting. It was lovely. We sat for a couple of hours on these couches. And so that was really nice. I will definitely go back. It was nice to be invited. They've been meeting for a few months. And then, she reached out to me and said, hey, would you want to come? And I said, sure, I'll give it a go. So that was fun. Another thing that I did this last couple of weeks. Remember, all my audiobooks are now located on Cori Stories audiobook podcast, so you can go over and subscribe to that. Would you go do that right now? Just get on your phone and hit the subscribe. Cori's Stories audiobooks. Subscribe. I need some subscribers over there. But yes, I'm doing 4 books every other Friday. I record that usually right after I record this. I go sit down, because usually I had done it on here. I go sit down in the other room, and then I just put it up on Friday. So it gives me a little bit more time to edit. I can edit this one today and tomorrow, and then I can edit that one before Friday. So that's how that's working. And that's been fun to have them be separate so that you can just go in, drop in, watch the audios. They've all been under 20 minutes so far, so it's a quick watch. But I've read some great books and a few duds. So I'm pretty honest about that. Don't forget, I have a Patreon community. I would love to have you join. Monday night, we have Knit Night, which is tomorrow for me, but this won't come up until after that. So I hope that I'm going to see some of you tomorrow night at 7 p.m. I have not set August's date yet. My family is going on a vacation, and the vacation got changed from 1 week to possibly another, and we are coordinating that. And so I don't know when I'm going to be home the 3rd and 4th, and then I leave for Dallas. And so I'm just trying to figure out when I can do it. And so I will put that out in the Patreon community. If this Monday night thing works well, if it was a good night for people, summer is hard, but I might do it again on another Monday night. But let's do the Patreon giveaway, because my Patreon members are the only ones that are in the drawing for the Patreon giveaway. I have a great one this week. So I have this little bag. Isn't it cute? Oh my goodness. It's so pretty. It's so fall. And I know a lot of people are really, there's no tag on it. I know a lot of people are really waiting for fall, but then I got a set of mini skeins sent to me that were not meant to come to me. She sent me the wrong color packet. I needed the greens, remember, for the little hat that I knit, and she sent me this one by mistake. And I said, I'll just ship it back. And she said, nope, you keep it. And I said, you know what I'll do? I'll give it away on the podcast. So look doesn't that go nicely? I mean, those 3 colors for sure. So this was from KT and the Squid. She has really nice DK mini skeins. And if you are not a fingering weight mini skein person, or you want a set of mini skeins, I would recommend that you go over to KT, the initials K and T, and the Squid on Etsy. And so this package is going out with this. So that's a nice, and then you know how I told you all I bought these little pens and I got like 50 of them thinking I was getting 5 because they were so cheap. And so I picked pens to match the mini skeins. I picked one orange and one pink and one blue and one purple to send out with this package because I got a whole bag of these and they're really cute. They're the little ones that have the little green, red, blue ink so they can just float around in the bottom of your purse. Remember, you know, well, maybe the rest of you don't have this problem, but can you ever find a pen in your purse when you need one? I always have a pen in my purse, but not when I need one. So I'm going to send out 4 of these. And this is going out to Anna. And Anna, I think your last name is Pojman, Pojman. But you're the only Anna that is a Patreon member, and your last name is not on my list. But I do have your email. And so I think that is your last name. But I will email you to double check, but I think that, and so you're going to get this. I just don't know for sure if that's your last name, but that's what your name is in your email address. So I would think that would be close. Okay. I think that's all I have for you this week. It's kind of a short, sweet one because I really wanted to just talk about my vest. So thank you so much for being here. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I did meet that 6,000 follower after being on this platform for 8 years. I've been trying to grow my platform. And if you do watch knitting podcasts and you've never told someone in your knitting group about the ones you watch, will you tell them about mine? Maybe someone be willing to go over and subscribe and watch a podcast for the first time. That would be lovely. And I do think some people just listen. They listen to podcasts while they watch. They walk, I mean, or if they're out exercising or whatever, they just listen in their car just to keep caught up on different things that are happening. But I would love to have some people go over and see my new vest. And let's not forget that I have a bunch of affiliate links that can save you some money. So I have an affiliate link down below for the Strucket, and that is the strainer bucket. I posted a video on Instagram this week about using my strainer bucket and how the yarn bled, and so I could lift that sweater out of that pink water so fast. It was so quick, and it just drained as fast as could be. One of the great reasons to own a Strucket. And then I also have the U trim fit. I sent out that package to the person who won my sample, but I love my trim fit. I'm also drinking their protein right now because I don't get enough protein. I'm not a big meat eater. I don't love a ton of meat at a meal. I'm such a carb girl. Then I also have my Branwyn underwear, my wool underwear referral code, where you get $10 off their performance innerwear, they call it, as well as my twice-sheared sheep Cori's Drop Stop stitch marker. So all of those are listed down below, and if you're going to purchase, you may as well save some money, right? And so I have codes and links to get you a discount. You can just use those at any time. They are, ad infinitum, you may use them. Please always remember that if you can't watch the video all the way through, if you will just let it play, I get paid an extra nickel. And I can use all the extra nickels in the summertime that I can get for my small business. Oh, I'm just pleading for a lot this week. Just pleading for a lot. subscribe, watch it all the way through, go to my podcast, use my affiliate links. Ugh. It's just, it's sounding a little desperate. Desperate knitter wives? Is that what I'm going to call myself? So thanks so much. I will see you in a couple weeks. I hope your knitting is successful and you don't have to rip out like I did. Bye. I'm just popping in this morning as I'm blocking a sweater this morning. And when this happens and the water becomes super pink, I just lifted that sweater out so fast so that now I can drain that pink water and not have it affect the sweater at all. I did have a color catcher in my water. Thankfully, the white stripes on my newly finished sweater are not turning pink either. So I'm gonna get this rinsed real quick here. But that's the beauty of having the Strucket. You can just lift this out and get that water out of it immediately. And actually, this is a little pink. I do want my sweater to grow a little in length. So I am just going to roll the water out and squeeze the long way. I do get that little bit of length that I left when knitting it. Just a couple of gentle squeezes. And then I've got my coconuts drying. It's almost like a chamois, if you know what that's all about. So I'll lay that out on this and then roll it up.